So I'll start off by introducing myself. I'm Jessie Lee, the Director of Marketing at BoostHER, and this is our incredible femme talker today, Shairi Islam. Shairi, would you like to begin by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. So, like she mentioned, my name is Shairi, and I'm currently in my HBA 2 year at Ivey, which is the business school at Western University. I'm also one of the co-presidents of the Ivey Marketing Club there, which is exciting. And although my past internships have been in tech and sales, as well as marketing, I think my two main fields of interest are definitely marketing and strategy. And so I'm excited to be joining Canadian Tire in the fall as a marketing consultant. Outside of school, I really enjoy painting, and I've gotten really into hiking during the pandemic because there's nothing else I could do. So it's definitely a nice hobby of mine. But yeah, I'm very excited to be on FEMTalks today. I think this is such a cool initiative, so super glad to be a part of it.
That's so excited. We're so happy for you to join us today, and you sound really involved with the community. So I'll start off with our first question. For those in the BoostHER community who have never experienced networking before, how do you suggest they get started?
Yeah, so I just have a couple tips for that. So the first one sounds kind of weird, but I think the first thing to do is like do some self-reflection, if I can call it that. So I think networking can get very draining and overwhelming and take up a lot of time if you have no idea why you're doing it. So I think just like take some time to figure out what you're interested in, whether it be job or just like general things that you want to learn about. And then from that, make a list of a couple companies you really want to network with or a couple people within those companies and like don't get every single person, just like relax and do as many as you can. Number two would be to practice with students. So I get like talking to industry professionals right away can be a little nerve wracking. So talking to upper year students is a great like in between to transition. So just reaching out to them, asking about their program or asking about like a cool internship they've done is a really good way for you to just get comfortable with like the setting and like get comfortable speaking and asking people things. And then the third thing is just to come prepared. So I think if you have a plan and like you have a bunch of questions that you want to ask and have all of that ready and you've researched your person beforehand, it takes away a lot of the nerves and anxiety around networking. So yeah, make sure you before your call, you like go through, prepare a list of questions and just be really prepared. And then in terms of like how to actually network, I think LinkedIn is obviously an amazing resource. To find people, connect with them, and then facilitate your networking. I think I prefer LinkedIn over email just because I think it gives you a little bit more credibility. So yeah, I think those are some 3 steps to kind of focus on when you're just starting networking, and then LinkedIn, make sure you have a nice LinkedIn account.
Thank you so much for that. You've given such great advice on how the viewers might start networking. Now, what's one tip you can give the members to increase the likelihood of actually getting a response?
Yeah, so getting a response, it's always it's a big barrier, but I think one way to overcome it is finding people and reaching out to people you have common experiences with. So this can be you've gone to the same school, you've worked in the same place, you are on like the same community, whatever. Just because I think it like lets people know again, like once they have some sort of similarity with you, I feel like they're a lot more interested in actually talking to you. I think for students, the best thing is to find a connection through school. So I find that whenever I message anyone from Western or Ivey, like the likelihood of me getting a response is like significantly higher than when I message like randos in the States or anything like that. So yeah, so focus on trying to find people within a specific company or like organization that have like that are alumni from your school. I'd also say try and message younger people. So people who are new grads or a couple years into their career, just because they're a little bit more eager to like speak to other people. They have more time on their hands. So I think that would help. And then one final thing is just to add a note when you're connecting. So like I say, like literally just like, hey, my name is Shairi. I'm a student at Ivey, really interested in learning more about your experience at this company. Would love to connect. That's all you have to say. But I think that like just gives them a little bit more credibility. And like, I find that that helps me get responses a lot quicker.
Thanks for sharing that. Now,
Mhm.
let's say the students have connected. What do you think is one question that is essential when asking, whether it be like a phone call or like a networking session?
I don't know if there's like one specific question, just because I think like people network for different reasons. It can just be to learn more about something, or they want a job or something like that. But I think the most important thing is to make sure you customize your answers to whoever you're talking to. So I know a lot of people come in with like super broad industry, like stats and this and that, but I mean, it could go really well for you and they can be very impressed, or they could have no idea what you're talking about. And then that's a very awkward conversation. So I think just doing the research beforehand, finding something cool about that person and asking them very customized, very personal questions. So like, rather than like, oh, what are some cool projects this company is doing? Like, what's your favorite project? What have you learned? What are some skills that you're trying to develop? What are the networks you're on at work? And like, how do you like them? So I think the more you customize, the better like the conversation will be, the more similarities you'll find. And I think that is just a better way to develop a good relationship. I think the one thing, make sure you send a follow-up note after you've networked with someone just to say thank you. I think that little thing goes such a long way to show that like you're appreciative, and it's a good way to stay connected.
For sure. And flipping the switch, what do you think are some mistakes that people make when networking, and how do you think they can avoid them?
Yeah, so I think the biggest mistake is asking for too much. So I think when you're networking, like just remember that no one owes you anything. So don't be like, oh, like, can I have this job? Or like, can you refer me to this person? Like, try and ask for those things in a very subtle way. So for example, rather than just being like, oh, like, can you refer me for this position? Like you've met this person once, you've probably had a 20-minute conversation with them. That's not enough for them to like, it's not enough for you to ask them to refer you to a position. So rather being like, hey, like I saw that a posting just went up and I'm really like, everything you said has made me really excited to potentially work at this company. Do you have any advice for like the application process, right? So that's a much nicer way to kind of indicate to them that you want a job, versus if you are just like, oh, like I want to work here, what do I do type thing, or like, can you refer me, or can you give me this job? It's like you're asking for a lot and you're not giving much back, right? So just balancing that. And then I think the second thing is just coming unprepared. So, you know, someone is taking time out of their day to speak with you, make it worth their time. So make sure you have a good conversation with them. And that comes from doing your research beforehand, not asking them questions that you could have found on their LinkedIn. So just coming really prepared, showing that you're putting in a lot of effort to make sure you're having a good conversation with them, I think is one way you can avoid that.
Perfect. And our last question is, how do you go about maintaining the relationships with the people you already networked with?
Mm-hmm. So this is actually something that I'm still trying to like work on myself. I think it's a little hard. But I think when you talk about maintaining relationships, it doesn't mean that you're talking to them every single week or like constantly messaging them. I think for me, it just means like little touch points here and there. So for example, if someone, you know, makes a post about something, I always try to get or like leave a nice comment. And that's just like a reminder to them that like, I exist, I'm here, I'm supporting you, type thing. Or say they get a new job or get promoted, like I'm always the first being like, congratulations, like this is very cool. So just little things, like ways to just stay connected throughout and just to like to remind them that you are a connection. I think more personal things, like if you say you know, I'm speaking to you and we talk about this really cool topic and I find an article about it like a week or two later, just sending them the article and being like, hey, like I know we discussed this, thought you would enjoy. Just something like that I think also is nice and like goes a long way. That's a little bit more, it's a little harder to like continuously find articles and things like that. But yeah, so I think those little touch points go a long way and will help you. Or so like I said, I am pretty involved in school. I've been throwing a lot of conferences this year. So if you're involved in a club or you have a podcast, write a blog or whatever, and you can feature them in some way, I think that's a really nice thing to do as well.
Amazing. Well, we're so thankful for you taking your time to talk to us today.
Thank you. No, this is so cool. Very honored to have been invited to this, and I really look forward to seeing the rest of the FEMTalks. So thank you.